All right, and welcome to Rise and Shine, Creating 2020 Vision. Today is day 36 of our series and day 6 of our action-themed conversation. And today I have with me here Joan Posivy. Welcome, Joan.
Thanks, Kim. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. And before we get into our conversation, I do want to give a quick welcome to all of our live and replay viewers. It's awesome to have you here. Feel free to say hello in the comments. Let us know what's coming up for you, any questions or ahas you have throughout the conversation. I see Sherry is with us already. Good to see you, Sherry. And as always, you know what? Remember, this is your time. This is your time. What is your vision for 2020 and beyond? And allow yourself to claim it, declare it, and integrate the information that we've been talking about throughout this entire series into how you are moving forward and standing in your power. And so, Joan, I am so glad to have you here. This is Joan's second time being on my show. She came on many years ago when I was just starting out with a completely different show, and it's so cool to have you back, Joan.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for the invite, Kim.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to give a very brief little intro to who Joan is. And here we go. Joan Posivy is a best-selling author, a speaker, and inspirator. She's the author of The Way Success Works, and she wants you to know that you can have, be, do anything you desire at all. And you can definitely go to joanposivy.com for more information.
Thank you, Kim.
Absolutely. So, Joan, okay, before we get into our action conversation, will you tell us just a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Okay. Let's see. I was about 19 years old when I stumbled into a seminar that I was told it was going to be on business matters, predominantly marketing. I think I was told that so that I'd go. Turns out that wasn't what it was about at all. It turns out the speaker was talking about your mind, your potential, and he said that you could have, do, or be anything you wanted with your life, regardless of what you felt your limitations were, regardless of what's happened in the past. Now, hearing that, my jaw was like dropped for 2 hours, because up until that time, most of my learning had been in typical school subjects, science, math, history, that kind of thing. I had never had anyone talk to me about my mind before, and it just blew me away. And the more and more I studied, the more I realized this is right. It just had not been an area of study that I tripped upon. And so I took a deep dive into it, started applying things, and consequently bought my first house about a year later than that. It was just before I turned 20, so I was 19. And then from there, set a goal to be a bank manager and achieved that when I was 22. Now, the reason I mention these things is not to in any way to impress, but to impress upon our listeners, our watchers, that this stuff is very real. It's very real. And the more we study, and it's something as far as one of our action steps, do a little bit every day, we appreciate more and more the potential that we've got locked up inside. It just needs to be released.
Joan, that is fascinating. So I just want to go back. You said you bought your first house at age 19?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it took me many realtors to finally find one to take me seriously. It's no, seriously, I want to buy something. I'll figure out a way to do it. And they're like, yeah, right, kid, next. But a lot of entrepreneurs know that too, right? I mean, you go out asking for things and they're like, yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, that could be a whole show. You've
got this vision in your mind and you don't let it go, regardless of outside circumstances.
Oh my gosh.
And that's really tough. And that's why shows like yours, Kim, are so invaluable, that we could tune into this and get that little, yeah, I am on the right track, right? All these people that are naysayers around me, they're the ones that just don't see the vision that I have.
I so love that you are bringing that in. For anybody who's joining us in this series for the first time in today's show, we started off this whole series by talking about the importance of having your vision and then pairing up your mindset with it and your emotions and taking action. And I love that you shared how powerful having that vision was. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit more then about the action piece in particular. So what comes up for you just in general first when you think about how taking action plays a role in making that vision come to life?
It is our life. It really is. I mean, every day you and I do whatever it is that we do during the day. And we need to ask ourselves, is it leading us in the direction that we want to go or not? Or are we continually getting pretty similar results year after year. The key is to, let me backtrack. So everything we see around ourselves right now, our happiness, our health, our wealth, is nothing but a reflection of those actions that we've taken so far in our life, up until this very moment, including tuning in today.
Right.
Those actions are being driven by what's going on in here, by our feelings, and that's being driven by our conscious thoughts. So how we think and feel drives our behavior. It's those actions that we take. It's the ones that we don't take, the opportunities that we seize, the opportunities that, frankly, we don't even see. And that's being driven by what's going on in here. So the key is we take a look at our present results, what we're getting, acknowledge them, they're real. However, if we keep focusing on what we've got, we'll create more of the same. Because if we're looking at our results, that's our conscious mind feeding more of that subconscious conditioning, creating those same habits, those same behaviors. What we want to do is acknowledge it, but interrupt it and say, okay, I get that, but that's not where I want to be a year or 5 years from now. Here's where I want to be. And that's where the vision, the goal setting, et cetera, comes in. And that's the image that we want to hold in our conscious mind, because time over time, it doesn't happen overnight, not for most people. I mean, we do learn two ways. One is through repetition, which is what I'm talking about right now. And one is through impact, when something like really impactful happens and just like that, you change. It's often negative, but it doesn't have to be. But at least repetition, that's something that we've got control over. So you gain a vision and goals for your life that you just fall in love with. And that slowly changes that subconscious conditioning, and you find yourself behaving differently, doing different things that ultimately lead you in the direction you want to go, and manifesting what you're looking for in life.
What I hear you saying is a lot about that driving force behind the action. Of course, taking the action itself is important, but the emphasis of how important it is to feel that passion. And like you said, to be thinking the thoughts that are going to take you to the new place versus where you've already been. If you don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, because you've got to change that subconscious conditioning that's driving that behavior. Willpower alone won't work. That's why, and I've been in the gym, going to the gym since like my early 20s, on and off, sometimes more seriously than others. And I always found it really fascinating. Around January 1st, the gym got like really busy. And people would start complaining, they can't get the equipment or the space. And I'm like, give it a couple of weeks. It'll be back to normal. Don't worry about it. And sure enough, it dropped off, because what they're trying to do is willpower. They're not changing the image that they have of themselves that's going to lead them to that ideal weight, whatever that is for them.
Oh, so good. So good. I want to take a quick look at our comments, see if any new questions have shown up here. Hello to Helene that is also with us. She's saying, I love to achieve anything in me. Awesome, Helene.
Great,
and it looks like we have Dom Brightman with us. Awesome to see you here, Dom. And y'all are being so nice to each other in the comments. Dom is saying, Happy New Week, folks. That's right. Happy New Week for sure. So Joan, let's see here. When I'm just thinking about that person who thinks and believes that they're on the right track and they're taking action, but they're not seeing the results they desire. Do you have any thoughts and does anything come up for you when I say that? Like what could be of service to helping that person?
The thing that popped into mind is that we think sometimes the way things are going to play out is the way we think they should. And I was certainly guilty of this. And I think we all continue to be to some degree or another. It's like, I think it needs to go this way. And so when we get an inner prompting, our intuition, our inner knowing to do something that could be seemingly unconnected, unrelated, if you're being pushed to do something, go and do it. It could be something as simple as, I feel like I need to be on walking down the main street today, or calling a certain person. Now, why would I get an idea to call that person? And then if you push yourself to pump that, even though you're thinking, oh, it's going to take me away from what I'm supposed to be doing. And the universe is going, no, you're supposed to be picking up the phone right now.
That is so good. And I think makes so much sense. And that's a way that we can get in our own way, where we think like, well, no, I already know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to move in this direction. And we might immediately discount an intuitive hit as a distraction.
For sure. Yeah.
So yeah, that is such a good point. Such a good point. So go ahead. Did I cut you off?
No, I was just going to say, and listening to that is a lifelong process. I don't know anybody personally that has that nailed.
I agree.
We create our little to-do lists and stuff, and we're working away on it. It's like, no, higher power, inner voice. I've got this. Fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I found when I'm in those spaces of going, well, wait a second, is this something I'm supposed to really focus on, or let pass by me? It's like, okay, if I can take a few seconds to pause, breathe, and just kind of tune in, then I can assess and gain greater clarity.
And I know a lot has been said about meditation and be in a relaxed state, and I'm certainly a proponent of that as well. Having said that, though, I find I get my best ideas during my morning walk. It's when the body's engaged and I'm out there and, yeah, right. And then I'll stop and pull up my phone to make a little reminder, when I get back to the office kind of thing.
I love that. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Awesome. So I do want to highlight that you are the author of the book, The Way Success Works, How to Decide, Believe, and Begin to Live Your Best Life. And Joan, will you tell us a little bit about this? Because I think this ties in with our conversation today, right?
Sure. My feeling, my understanding, my experience is that the way success works is a heck of a lot simpler than we make it out to be. It's simple, but it's not easy. Simple is the methodology and how we manifest what it is that we want. The challenge, again, is changing that old conditioning, believing that we can actually pull these things off and quieting that negative voice that sometimes erupts. The book is a mashup of three things. One is the template, how success works. Here's what you need to do. Second piece of that is experiences from my own life applying it. And then the third are success stories, predominantly from young adults around the world. Number one, I love working with that demographic, the young adults. Having said that, though, it's really for people from 8 till 80. Because what I discovered, and it wasn't necessarily my intention when I wrote it, a lot of older people read it, inspired by these young people, and that helps them get in touch with some of their dreams they had when they were younger, but for whatever reason, put them aside. Other things happen in life, and now it's time for them to re-engage with those younger dreams.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I met so many incredible young people along the way in this journey. They're so inspiring, from the young person with, Down syndrome that opens his own restaurant. And, you look at him and you go, okay, what's my problem? This person, and it makes my heart sing when I think about him, our interview, etc. But he's incredible. A young.
Oh, it froze on my end. Joan, can you still hear me? Joan, can you hear me? I bet as soon as I start talking, all of a sudden she's going to come right back and we'll hear her. Joan, here's the deal. Joan, if you can actually hear me, I can't hear you and you're frozen on my end. So if you can hear me, then what might be best is actually just completely exit and come right back. I don't know why that is. That might help if you can hear me. Oh, goodness. So while we're waiting to see if this shifts, then let me check the comments again. Let's see here. Helene is saying, my vision is to get all the books published. Awesome, awesome. And I think Joan is going to be on her way back. And Joan is, here we go, Joan. Awesome. Thank you, Joan.
Okay. Six, I'm muted. Oh boy.
Can you hear me?
Technology.
That's okay.
I don't know if
I can hear you. I can hear you.
You can hear me? I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
I'm going to try to reboot my sound here. Like I said, technology is great. Until somebody trips over the cord.
That's okay. Let me take a look at the comments. Let's see here. Helene is saying, when do you know when it's the right time to get a book published? Ooh, that's a good question, Helene. While Joan's doing her thing, I'm going to say when you feel it's the right time. When you feel it's the right time to get your book out there. That is definitely a helpful tip. And Sherry is saying,
there we go.
Amazing vision, Helene. I hope that your dreams come true. That is super sweet, Sherry. Yes, I agree. I hope Helene's dreams come true. I believe that they will. Joan, can you hear me? Let's see if she can hear me. Joan, can you hear me? Okay. So little technical difficulties, and that's okay. That's okay. They happen sometimes. Let us know what has come up for you during today's conversation so far. Any new thoughts about taking action, aligned action? And let's see, I see Joan is back with us. Oh, that's okay. We'll figure this out. So while we're doing that, why don't we go ahead and pull a card, right? We love to pull cards. We love to pull cards. So let's start with, got a few different decks here. Let's start with, do you remember Janet Starr's deck? When Janet came on, and I have her brand new deck, Mirrors. It has fantastic questions that you can use whether you're in a coaching session or, of course, doing a show like this. Awesome. I see Joan is back. Let's see. Awesome. Joan.
Everyone, I don't know what happened there.
That's okay. That's okay. We roll with it. So, Joan, here's what I was just about to do. If you'd like to assist me with this, I was just about to pull a card from Janet Starr and Jeff Rowland's Mirrors deck. And these have really awesome questions. So how about I do some light shuffling and then you tell me when to stop and I'll pull the card that's on top.
Excellent.
Okay, so doing some light shuffling and feel free to tell me when to stop.
And stop.
Okay, and there's a card that flipped over right then. So that's perfect. Okay, so the card that we have here is wisdom. What does it mean to you to be truly wise?
Oh, what does it mean to be truly wise? To be truly wise is to respond rather than react.
Oh, that is so good. Yes. And that, again, is bringing in that piece of really just that I'm going to say that driving force behind the action. Mm-hmm. Is being mindful of what actions you're taking and checking in to see, is this really aligned with what it is I want to create and experience?
Yes. And to have that presence, and this takes time we can be excited and vibrant on the outside, but to have that calmness inside. So like when something happens, like, I don't know, the internet drops out, for example. Instead of getting flustered, you just dive in and fix it. No, or when, if you come across a cranky, customer or colleague or something like that you realize it's not about you, it's about them.
Right.
And again, to respond in a way that is going to lead you towards your goal and not that reaction.
Absolutely. So good. So okay. So I asked Joan, I said, Joan, what's an empowering quote that you could share with us for our show? And she shared, go as far as you can see. When you get there, you'll see how to go further. And Joan, is that one of your original quotes?
I don't think I can take claim to that. It's been with me for so long. I don't remember the author. It was probably one of my first guiding lights, because what happens as humans is we set a goal, but we won't even set it until we can see how we're going to pull it off. But then it's really not a goal. It's more or less a bunch of stuff on your to-do list.
Right.
If the goal's big enough, you won't know how you're going to accomplish it. And that's where really the growth takes place. And after all, that's what a goal is all about. It's not, the achievement of goals isn't about getting stuff. It's about who you had to become, the changes within you that allowed you to reach those goals.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm
Yeah.
going to repeat that quote again for our podcast listeners. Go as far as you can. When you get there, you'll see how to go further. That is such a good point about it can be so easy to say, well, I don't know how yet. And you don't even take the one first step that you're like, well, I see how that could work. But then you can't see the second, third, fourth, fifth step, and you don't take any action at all, even on the first.
And you need that first step. And I know it's tough because, again, we're restrained by that old conditioning or old habit patterns. And it's hard to break clear of that. If I can give you an analogy for that, and this is out of NASA, the distance between here and Mars is about 140 million miles, about 225 million kilometers. It takes 50% of the fuel for the rocket to leave the Earth's surface to get to Earth's orbit. That's 400 kilometers, about 250 miles. So it takes half the fuel to get from the surface of the Earth 250 miles up, 400 kilometers, and then the rest of the 50 all the way to Mars, those millions of miles, because there's such a gravitational pull keeping that rocket on Earth. Similarly, your subconscious conditioning keeps you rooted like that in your old habit patterns, in what you were doing before, what people are telling you can and can't do, that it's really hard. And that's part of the reason people don't take that first step.
Oh my
gosh. Once you break through that, then you start to have momentum.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't think I could pull that off, but now I can. Okay, what else can I do next? And you see the next step, and you see the next step.
That is such a good point, Joan. I mean, that's all about how much are you believing in yourself and your ability to achieve something, regardless of what other people believe is possible.
Yeah. And like one of the characters in my book, Zachary Rook, he's out of Australia. And these examples are from around the world. So Zachary created a moving company. And at one point, he left home and he said to his friend there, today, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get Tom Potter as my mentor. Now, Tom Potter in Australia was like a big deal in business-wise, like top of his game. So his friend's like, you can't even get close to that guy. What do you mean he's going to mentor you? Anyway, so what Zachary did was he learned where Tom had his offices and he waited there and waited for 3 hours until finally Tom came out. So he's like, okay, this is my chance. So he struts up to Tom as, well, confidently anyway, and says to him, you're going to mentor me. You have to mentor me. It wasn't a question. And I think it took Potter back a little bit. And he's like, here's my card. Give me a call. They've been friends ever since because, of course, Zachary followed up. Now, it's possible that Tom would have said, no, I'm not interested, or I don't do mentoring, or whatever the case may be. What could he have done? He could have gone back several months later. He could have found somebody else. The worst thing he could have done is just get, well, I guess I'm not going to get a mentor.
And that's a fantastic story. And I also want to say that in that moment that he saw Tom and declared, you're going to mentor me. Absolutely. Tom gets to decide if he wants to or not. But I know that the degree of belief someone has in themselves in that moment that they declare something to someone else has a resonance and an impact on the person who hears it. So and I forgot your friend's name. So had he not believed in himself enough to even declare that, Tom could have felt that and been like, no, I don't think so. But I wish you all the best, kid,
Yeah. Everything's energy. That's what they're picking up. If there's this belief, it's like, there's that resonance, that communication, for sure. You pick that up. That's why somebody can be talking to you and it's almost feeling, it's like, this ain't the truth.
Right.
Because they're saying one thing, but their vibration is sending you something very different. So there's a mismatch. Even if you can't articulate it, there's something not right about the situation. But when a person is congruent, they believe it, and then they actually really do believe it. You feel that.
Oh, so good. Okay, so Joan, when I asked you what your 2020 vision was, Joan said that we have a deeper understanding of the tremendous power we possess to turn our positive thoughts into our desired reality. And Joan, I have to say that speaks right to what we've just been talking about.
True. Yeah. Yeah. We've got so much potential, but we're conditioned not to see it from a very young age. Like I was in my 20s and I was in Toronto. And for the first time, I heard the story of the Golden Buddha. It's housed in Bangkok, Thailand. Do we have time for that?
Feel free. Go. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Go ahead and share it.
It's magnificent. Have you had the opportunity to be in Bangkok to see it yet?
No, I haven't. No.
No. Okay. It's amazing. So this statue is about 10 feet tall, so 3 meters. It's pure gold. It's worth about $250 million, and it's thought to be about 8 centuries old.
Wow.
Well, when I heard the backstory of this thing, it's like, I got to see it myself. And I wrote it down as a goal. Now, I'm in my 20s in Toronto. At that point, I had barely left the city, let alone go halfway around the country. But fortunately, by then, I had understood that we shouldn't let our present circumstances dictate our goals, dictate our thinking, dictate our dreams. So I just wrote it down. Turns out, several years later, I get a call from Bob Proctor. You know him. He was in your book, right, Kim?
I do, yes.
Yeah. Well, those of your listeners or people watching that might not be familiar with Bob, he's world renowned in the area of the mind and personal potential. And at any rate, so he called me up and invited me to co-present a series of seminars with him in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Wow.
Well, that's not Bangkok, but so we were there for, I guess, about a week. And then one of the audiences was for one of his clients, Malaysian Airlines. And they fly all over the world. So in the audience were people from all over, including Bangkok. As it turns out, a lady in the audience invited me to stop by her place on my way back to Canada, which I did. Long story short, fast forward, I'm standing in front of this statue. And I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. But here's the backstory. Long time ago, under the threat of invasion by Burmese soldiers, the keepers of the statue were concerned about its safety. Well, they couldn't exactly pick it up and move it. Like I said, it's 5 tons. 5 tons. So they came up with a brilliant idea. What they did was they disguised it in plain view. They covered it in plaster, painted it, and then inlaid bits of colored glass so that it looked decorative, but not necessarily worth anything. Well, the disguise worked, but it worked so well that over the months, the years, the generations, in fact, the mystery of what lay underneath remained lost until, get this, 1955. The statue was being moved in its location from one to the other. And what they did was they put these big straps around it, and then the crane went to lift it and move it. One of the straps broke. The statue falls, lands on the corner, cracks the plaster off to reveal this gold underneath. So looking at this thing, I'm thinking, how could something so commanding, so stunning have remained hidden for so long? You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
That same sense of awe can and should be felt for what lies at the core of you and I. Because you and I, like that storied Buddha, were born golden. But almost instantly, we begin to cover ourselves up with these layers of plaster, layers of negative conditioning and self-doubt. And, over time, for a lot of people, those layers aren't peeled back, but rather they're just, added onto layer and layer. And that brightness of us is shrouded by those layers of plaster. I've spent most of my adult life chipping away at those layers and helping people do the same.
That is such a good story. I've heard it a few times, and just every time it's such a good reminder about just the beauty and depth that lays within all of us. And it's so important for us to know that it's there and see it and tune into that first before anybody else can actually see it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And one final thing, I think that we hesitate, and I have a perfectionist streak in me. I'll never forget my first audio tape program. It was called No Limit Confidence, and it was on cassette tape. So yes, I am dating myself. But I remember playing the masters to my business partner before, we did the actual duplication. And he heard me say in the recording that I was a recovering perfectionist.
That's what I say.
And he laughed and he's like, I don't see a whole lot of recovering happening. He's got a point. But at any rate, I do try. But the reason that we don't step out, another reason, is that we don't want to fail. We don't want to look foolish. We don't want to try. But, keep in mind, the masters you see at things, they were beginners at one time too.
That is so good. And Joan, I use that same phrase, recovering perfectionist. So I totally really, I too totally get it. And I agree. It's a process. It's all a process of learning to be easier on ourselves, detach from that and so much. So, okay. I love it. Love it. Love it. I want to give a quick hello. We're near the end of our show, but we're not done just yet. So quick hello to Jack, who's with us as well. And I know Joanne was with us. Awesome to see you all here. And Helena saying, I love this show. I keep learning more of what I am seeking in me. Thank you, Kim O'Neill, for your show. I appreciate you. Oh, Helene, I appreciate you. Thank you for that. Glad to have you here today. So, okay, Joan. So let's, before we get to our final question, will you remind everyone where they can go to connect with you and anything else you'd like to share with them that you have coming up or any programs you've been working on, all of that?
Sure. The easiest way to connect is through the website, joanposivy.com.
Okay.
There we've got more tips, techniques, linked to the book, and a special gift for your listeners and watchers. What I wanted to do was help guide people through the process of the way success works on a deeper level and go into more depth, and thus created a 13-part video series. So there's a link to that as well. And in these crazy times, I thought it would be helpful to offer your viewers a 50% off the investment for that. All they need to do is type in RISE 2020.
Awesome. And tell everyone the name of that program again.
How to turn your thoughts into wanted things, with the emphasis on the word wanted. You see, we're constantly, because of that connection I was telling you about, and that really is my life work, is helping people understand the connection between the way we think and then the results that generates. And so it's a deep dive into that and how you plant a seed, because it's really like a physical seed. Like if you were to take, let's say, an acorn and dissect it, you would never ever find a little oak tree in there, because the oak tree isn't in there. But what it does contain is a pattern plan or a nucleus of what it'll grow into. Similarly, when you and I decide that we're going to pursue something, not just, wishful thinking, but like an absolute commitment, and we get emotionally involved with it and really see ourselves in our mind's eye already in possession of it, that's like planting the seed. And just like the seed attracts particles of energy to help it grow, similarly with the goals that we plant. But the problem is we plant that seed and we're so excited about it. But then when we don't see in the time that we suspect that we should see results, we go, oh, it's not going to work. But you and I both know that there's a whole lot of growth that takes place under the surface before you actually see that little sprout come up.
Yep.
And that's where the daily study, even just a little bit, to keep ourselves focused and on track.
That's another great metaphor. Thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. And every single person has that within them, every single person. And it's all just about like you said, what do you want? What are you deciding that you want to move towards and create?
Yeah.
And
not society, not your family. What do you want? Because you're the one that's going to have to go through those tough times in order to get to where you're going.
Whew, I love it. Love it. Joan, I'm so glad you're here with me today. Thank you for adding everything you've shared today in our conversation. And so now I would like to ask you my final question. And that is, would you be open, just to being playful here, would you be open to making up a random song with the word action in it?
With the word action. Okay. How about we pay tribute to the word action through song?
Okay.
And I'm going to need your help on this.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask that your viewers, listeners also help you.
Okay.
Kick in. All right. We're going to have to start. You're going to have to help me out with some kind of like a beat. Like a. Perfect. Give me an A.
A.
A is for attitude. There's no doubt the way you think, feel, and act is what life's all about. Give me a C.
C.
C is for calm. We all got to chill when we're centered and relaxed. Things bend to our will.
Woo!
Give me a T.
T.
T is for time. Give yourself a chance. Those big badass goals of yours take time to manifest.
Do, 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 do.
Give me an I.
I.
I is for I, and that means you too. Who's the only one who can make your dreams come true? Put your hand on your heart and say I.
I.
Say I. Give
I.
me an O.
Oh.
O is for outstanding. That's who you are. Dream those big dreams and you'll raise your bar.
Woo.
Give me an N.
N.
N is for nurture. Study every day. The more you learn about yourself, the more things go your way. So take action. Take what?
Action.
Every day.
Woo! That was awesome, Joan.
Okay, Kim, only you could have gotten me to do that. Seriously.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. And that was so fun and so good. Good job. Okay. Well, one quick last look here at the comments here. Hello to Joel, who is also with us today. And thank you to everyone who's been with us live or on the replay. Again, let us know what you're taking away from today's conversation. How does this support you in maybe reframing how you've been thinking about action and what those next right steps are and what might be getting in the way or what's actually supporting you in taking those next steps where maybe in the past it's been a little more challenging? Whatever it may be, remember, we all have our own journey. I love, Joan, that you mentioned earlier that, when we talked about intuition, it's an ongoing thing of learning to discern, what's the right, right action to take, right? And assessing and all of that. So I love today's conversation. Again, thank you to Joan for being here with us today. Remember, you can go to joanposivy.com and get 50% off of her program on her website. And I know she gave what was the passcode again for the 50% off?
Rise 2020.
Rise 2020. Awesome.
Good until the end of December.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. Wonderful. That is our show for today. We'll be back on Thursday with another guest for Rise and Shine, creating 2020 vision. Carry this energy and momentum forward. This is your time. And I thank you for being here today. Stay there right there, Joan, and we'll see you all again very soon.